Good morning, carefree cooks everywhere. Chef Todd with you once again. Let's see who's joining us today. There we are. We're together again. That's so good to see. Hey, everybody. We've been talking online live here again. We do our weekly meetings and so on. But I had something come across my radar, my cooking radar recently that changed a lot of things for me, or at least it showed me how appropriate focusing on conductive versus convective heat is. I'm going to heat up my pan, and this morning we're going to do a avocado bird's nest. Now, Heather brought this idea to me. She was on one of those internet sites that has a quick, choppy video, and they do things really, really quickly, and it always comes out perfectly. Of course, until you try and go do it, right? So this was my first attempt. Let me get that here. This was my first attempt at this avocado bird's nest dish. But what I want you to notice here, look at how crispy that is, right? That is all cooked on the bottom. Do you see that burnt bit on the bottom there? And in my opinion, man, there's nothing worse than burnt eggs. They're crispy, they're chewy. There are some people that like that. I don't particularly. So following this video online, following this video recipe, you will get eggs that are burnt on the bottom and yolks that are incredibly runny. So one of the problems I was having with this was trying to get the yolks to cook all the way through without it burning on the bottom. And the reason I wanted to share this with you was it's a perfect description, perfect demonstration of what we've been talking about lately. The difference between direct conductive and indirect convective heat. So let's start making this avocado dish. I've got my pan heating up on the stove. I'll show you what I do with an avocado here. I set my paring knife in, and I run the paring knife all the way around the avocado and twist it to reveal the two halves. To get the pit out, I take the edge of my knife and whack it like that and turn. That'll bring the pit of my knife out. All right. Spoon. Scoop. All right. There's one side. I gotta mute something here. Okay. And avocado spoon right down to the skin. Other side. Then the next thing I'm gonna do is take my knife and cut off the top of the avocado. Just take that slice there. That's gonna be for smoothies. I'm gonna take the next one, take that slice. That'll be frozen for smoothies at a later time. And what I have here is my little avocado donut. See? And that's what we're going to use. So, got the pan hot first. What is the first step in saute method all the time? And this is basically a saute. Pan hot first. Second step, how do you tell how hot the pan is? This is a step that so many home cooks skip. They do the hand hover. Oh yeah, that kind of feels like there's a lot of heat above. No, we're not cooking with the air that's above the pan. We're cooking with the heat in the pan. So a little bit of water on my hands. I splash it in the pan, and I should see water evaporate and turn to steam. But let me show you this. Let's go to the stove here. If I take a little bit of water on my hands, splash it in the pan, and it runs around, can you see it running around on the surface of the heat? That pan is too hot. That's called the Leidenfrost effect. Water should evaporate, not scurry around. So I'm going to cool the pan down. I'm going to swish it around, let the air get at it a little bit, stop for a minute, lay the pan back down. Let's test the temperature of that pan again. All right, there's a little bit more evaporation rather than scurrying around. Leidenfrost effect. I'm going to add some butter to that pan. Pick the pan up. Swish it around, get the butter everywhere on the pan, and then down goes my little avocado donuts. All right, we'll get them in the pan. Next, 2 eggs. Now, a lot of people, I don't know why everybody likes to smash the egg against the side of the pan and have it drip down on the outside of the pan. Generally, what I do is take my knife and smack it like that. We'll take the egg right in the middle of the bird's nest. Of course, the egg is greater volume than the hole in the avocado, so it is going to spill everywhere like that. And I've got my 2 eggs down. By the way, I use these really nice local eggs from Frederick, Maryland. Man, they're good. A good egg makes such a difference. All right, so now here's where our problem really comes into play. I've got the eggs here in the pan, and they are being exposed to direct conductive heat. They will continue to cook on the bottom until I get the yolks to the point that I want them at. But here's the problem with this. They're insulated. You know, I discovered that they're insulated by that avocado, and it's not even cooking around it. It's definitely not cooking from the top. All it's doing is cooking from the bottom. Remember this photo here, right? I'm trying to avoid that crispy bit on the bottom there. So what I really want to do is turn this from conductive heat to convective heat. And I'm going to take this water that I have, pour some water in the pan, and put a lid on the pan. This is what changes the process from direct conductive underneath to moist convective throughout. So in this very same pan, all I've really done, I'm going to lower the heat a little bit, all I've really done is change the source of the heat. Now, most people would watch this video on the internet, or they would read the recipe about the avocado eggs, and they would just crack them in a pan and and they would wind up with what I wound up with that I didn't like, was burned on the bottom and raw on top. I need this to cook everywhere. So this is where I'm changing the method from direct conductive, single source underneath, to indirect convective, and in essence, I'm steaming the eggs. But you know, steaming, moist convective heat means that you lose caramelization of sugars. We talked about this on Tuesday. The arch enemy of brown and crispy is wet and moist. But I don't want brown and crispy in my eggs. So the more times that I can come over here and add a little bit more moisture and have them steam, the more I am reducing the fact that I'm going to get that crispy egg that I don't want. In the meantime, I need some garnish. Now, the first thing I have is, this is Pennsylvania 7-year aged cheddar. Whew. That's really, really good. And secondly, we've talked about this in storing your vegetables and storing things. This dish is going to get some green onions, right? Some scallions. Notice how the scallions come out of my refrigerator. We've talked about this. They're like a flower, right? So if I keep my scallions in water with a tent over top of them, these things will last weeks, absolutely weeks. So let's see how our eggs are going here. Let's go back to the stove camera. How do I tell when they're done? What I do is, let's make sure we get the camera, I shake the pan a little bit, okay? Now this is not something where I'm going to put my thermometer, you know, in the egg yolk. So I'm going to look at the yolks, and they still look like they're jiggly, right? They're a little bit more jiggly. So I'm going to put the lid on the pan and let them continue to cook in that respect. So I was talking about garnish. Where's my scallions? Okay, so here's the scallion that I have, and I could take out, listen carefully, my Toledo steel knife that I got in Spain, and take out the cutting board and cut the, okay? It seems like a lot of work for just one little scallion for garnish. And this is where, not your poultry shears, right? Because these have been cutting raw chicken, even though you wash them and sanitize them. But I have little tiny herb scissors. And what I will do is snip over our dish this herb for the last garnish. Okay, back to the stove. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. Back to the stove, and now a little bit more jiggle. And if you can see that, my egg yolks are a lot more solid now because they were subjected to the conductive heat, to the convective heat. So I've got my plate normally warmed in the oven. I'm going to slide these guys down. Look how nicely they come off. All right, I still got a little bit more browning than I really wanted to on them, but you know, keep working at it. But I've discovered this difference between direct conductive and dry and moist convective, and now I've lost my scallion. There we go. Let's get the cheese out. This incredible. So I'm using eggs that are from about 50 miles away. I'm using cheese that's from less than that, probably about 20 miles away. Let's give it a little grating of cheese. I get my little herb scissors out, my scallion, snip, 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 snip. If you don't like scallion, do something else. You could put red peppers on this. You could use different kinds of cheeses. You can put your own artistic touch on it. And there it is. Here's my Avocado Birds Nests. that we've been working on today that looks really, really nice. But, you know, no matter what you come out with, the idea behind this is that really the skill to cooking is controlling heat. Okay, it's not about following a recipe. It's not a really highly produced video on the internet, because that's where I got this idea from, and it didn't come out. It took me a few tries to get it like that video. Don't let them fool you. When you're empowered with the ability to change from direct heat to indirect heat, you can avoid the over browning. You can keep it nice and moist, and that's what we did in this example here. This is the key to cooking for me. If you understand how heat is transferred to food, if you understand the 4 effects of heat on food, this is a decision that you make on your path to being a carefree cook. And if you'd like to continue that path, you of course know I have my guidebook. It's the 5 forks to carefree cooking. This is one of the forks that the decisions that you will make. Follow someone's written instructions, or become empowered by understanding how heat is transferred to food. Start your own personal journey toward becoming a carefree cook by getting my guidebook today at webcookingclasses.com. Heather, breakfast is on. We'll see you guys soon. Chef Todd Moore reminding you again, there's a method to your cooking success. See you soon.